Elon is working hard. He's working overtime. He's out in Wisconsin campaigning because that's a very important election there. And in that process, he has managed to expose all kinds of fake Social Security numbers. This is an unbelievable scandal. And leave it to Elon, who's able to get in there with his DOGE team and look at the data like nobody ever has before and analyze the data like nobody has before. And what do you know? This is pretty frightening. I want to share with you some of the sound from the weekend there in Wisconsin.
One interesting statistic was that 40% of the calls into Social Security were fraudulent, like meaning that it was someone trying to get a Social Security payment that was going to a senior to go to instead to go to a fraud ring. So that was almost half of the phone calls were fraudulent. Probably the other half were people asking, what happened to my Social Security?
This is true, actually.
Yeah. Like, hey, where did this is bananas.
Yeah, I mean, we found this, actually. The people there at Social Security knew this was going on, and they had been complaining about it for a long time, and no one fixed it. And these were mostly criminal rings outside the country, in other places in the world that are jamming up the phone systems, calling in, using just these six simple security questions, because you can actually, this was how crazy it was, you could change your direct deposit information at Social Security by simply answering 6 questions on the phone, like your mother's maiden name, your date of birth, etc.
Like stuff you can find on the internet.
Easily found on the dark web. That's why it was so easy. It was a huge, huge exploitation, super open door. I mean, the bank vault was open, and the criminals ran right in and took the money, and they took it away from our seniors. Mm-hmm. Right? So what happened is, if like my dad's 84, he'd go get it, thought his check was supposed to be in the bank account, wasn't there, then he's got to go through a whole process to get the money back from the government, which takes a long time. It's the government, right? So we put in a very simple 2FA system. All this nonsense you see in the media about, we turned off the phone lines, whatever, not true. All they did actually, we recommended to Social Security that they put in a very simple 2FA system, and they will...
It's two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication. They say kind of use the banks. Like, pretty simple. You have a bank account, you do this, and you know what? They did it. They said, yeah, you're right, we should do that. They went and did it. Good for them. They did it. No one had the will to do it. They did it. And they're going to keep increasing security. We've given them a lot more recommendations, and they're on the road to increase security, stop all this nonsense, so our seniors and our people that are disabled don't get stolen from.
Wow, this is incredible. Okay, so there's one more soundbite I want to play for you, but you have to kind of turn the volume up, full disclosure, because it's like taken off a TV or something, I don't know. And it's hard to hear, but like it's so important because this graphic that they're going to show you is everything. They're showing you the increase in the number of Social Security numbers that were created from, well, people that were not here legally in the country during the Biden administration. And so I want you to see this. Turn the volume up if you have to. I'll do what I can to kind of boost it here.
And then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep. They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through, on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people, in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote. In this population, yes.
And who did vote?
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote.
Whoa.
And we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already happening. Right now. Yeah. And the truly disturbing thing, though, I just want you to know this is a truly disturbing thing to me, and the darkest thing about this to me, the voter fraud is terrible, but the human tragedy this created is extraordinary, because what you don't understand, people don't know, and Americans need to know, that's why I'm here, is that human traffickers made $13 to $15 billion off of this. Okay? That's the money that's going around the world, moving people around the world to our borders because of these incentives. How does it work? What happens? Hey, if you're in Africa, you're in South America, you got to walk up through Mexico, through America. Who do you pay? You pay the narcos, you pay the traffickers, right? And we were told by ICE, it's between $20,000 and $500, depends where they pick you up, to walk across all those countries and give all.
Wow. Okay, so guys, this at least, I think, puts some perspective on all of this, because when you think about how we were like, why would they do this? Why wouldn't they actually enforce the borders? Why? How is this helpful? How is this helpful to any of our communities here where you have these financial drains? Why are they giving people like, $300 and some odd a week in special food cards, right? You got like a credit card for your food because they said you need ethnically appropriate food. It was actually one of the first things that none other than Eric Adams got rid of as soon as Donald Trump came into power. But there's a reason for that, I think. And I'm going to point you to this. This is a fascinating story. 800,000 non-citizens could soon be voting in New York City elections. This came out just several weeks ago. New York's top court is considering a city law allowing non-citizens to register to vote in New York City's elections. And the court is going to be hearing arguments on this. This is what they're fighting for. And so Elon's brought this up before. The fear is that, look, they're bringing all kinds of people in here because they want to somehow tip the ballots in their favor. It's all about gaining control. And that's concerning. I think for every citizen, you can't have people that aren't here legally just swarming the country and then suddenly at the voting booths. I mean, it just doesn't even make any sense. And then on top of that, you can't afford to be giving them all of the freebies and fringe benefits that New York, for example, has been giving them. Or, you think about all those mayors that were quizzed recently on Capitol Hill. And we found out that New York's giving somewhere in the vicinity of $7 billion. You get the Chicago mayor that's given hundreds of millions of dollars. In Boston, they don't even want to tell you because they say it doesn't matter. We just give things to whoever needs them and we don't care if they're legal or not. Well, you can't run a country like that. You can't have a borderless society where suddenly now a certain group of people that go to work every day and in some cases are doing 2 or 3 jobs to try and just earn a living with this massive inflation. And then you have another team of people that are coming in and they're living, high off the hog on the dole, so to speak. I mean, to use a Roman reference, right? You want to go back to Rome? We can do that. We can do that all day long. What do you think the fall of Rome was all about? It was about overextending oneself financially, whether you had all the people living off the dole or whether you had all these military operations all over the world that Rome could not afford. Quick shout out for another great sponsor. Again, I am fully independent, and that is the beauty of what I do here. So please make sure you subscribe, share, like, make a comment. Make a comment. That actually helps the algorithm too. So do that. Thank you for that. And I see Chrome 131 liking and subbing, and I see I meant to thank one of our guys earlier who sent a super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. And I love being here every day for you guys. Balance in Nature is one of our sponsors. I take my fruits and veggies every day. They send them to me. They're little gummies. They taste really good. So that gets me eating my vitamins. It's better when they taste good, right? Much better. Anyway, so it helps with vitamin D, helps with vitamin C, all these things that we really need. And I love them for it. I love them for their sponsorship. So balanceofnature.com. Go there. Use my code word, Trish. You can call them too. 1-800-246-8751. 1-800-246-8751. But if you go there, make sure you use the code. It helps me. And it helps you because you're going to get 35% off, free shipping, and money back guarantees. So all of this stuff matters right now. I mean, there was one other little moment. I wanted to get to this because it's like we've got this contrast between, say, Elon Musk, who believes in individual freedoms and the right of every individual to thrive, versus George Soros, who believes in open borders, I mean, his borderless society nonsense, and has been backing all of these AGs and DAs and people that have been going after Trump over the last however many years. Soros versus Elon, it's a very sort of interesting setup. One of the things that happened in that little Social Security expose that was just amazing in Wisconsin was that there were protesters sent in, and I suspect they were paid protesters. Of course, we've learned that given what came out of Denver. I'll get to that, but take a listen to this. Elon calls him out and calls George Soros out.
Yeah, it's really wild. So, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George from me. USA, 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 USA. Yep. I mean, it was inevitable.
So he had some protesters there. But here's the thing. Are these guys like all protesters? It's kind of an interesting play on words. Protesters mean they're pros, right? They're paid. There was that rally that happened in Denver a weekend or so ago that AOC and Bernie Sanders were so incredibly proud of, where you had, I don't know, they said 35,000 people. It turned out to be around 20,000 people, still a pretty sizable crowd. But then when they looked at all the GPS data, what they found was that the majority of people that were there, 8 out of 10, had all been to some 9 different Kamala rallies because, you see, they're paid. They pay them. And who doesn't take that gig, right? You're some young college kid who is barely earning a living, and they're like, hey, we'll give you $400 to go show up at some Kamala rally or at this Denver thing, and we'll give you free food, and here you go, here's what you're supposed to do. And they print it all out for you, and they make your signs, and they make it easy. But you see, none of it is real. None of it is organic. None of it is true. You go to those Trump rallies, and I've been to them, and first of all, the nicest people in the world, so courteous, and they're there because they believe in him and what he is doing for this country. And it's a very, very different thing. I mean, they don't have to pay, Beyonce to come in and not sing. Remember that one? They get Beyonce to go to the Kamala rally. They don't have to pay Oprah Winfrey $2 million. That's what the New York Times reported. She says, no, I didn't get anything. But the New York Times reports that $2 million went to Oprah Winfrey's campaign. Look, there's something going on. There is a movement happening, and the left can't stop it. They just can't stop it. No matter how much they try to indoctrinate us with their Disney nonsense, no matter how much they try to sell princess costumes to boys at Halloween time on the Disney website. You see, I'm never going to let them live that one down. That was just disgusting. It's all going to change now. You get the FCC investigating them. You get the FBI investigating the Russia hoax. You know how much Trump wanted that discovery? So much so that he sued. Don't forget the lawsuit that happened just a couple of years ago, and Kash Patel said, look, we're going in under the RICO stuff, and it's for $75 million, but the reality here is we just want the information. We want the discovery. Well, now he's got it. He's declassifying everything. He is their worst nightmare because it's all coming out. And I've talked a lot about what went down. And Joe Biden's, his frustration that he wasn't able to do more to preserve democracy in the name of getting rid of all the misinformation, except the misinformation was coming from him, whether it was the Biden laptop, whether it was from his predecessor, the Russia stuff, whether it was, that virus couldn't possibly have come from the Wuhan, China lab, where it came from. I mean, this kind of stuff. They completely lied to us. And Joe Biden just wishes he had lied some more. Well, we're here for truth, and truth only. If you believe in truth like I do, you're here for a reason. Please make sure you subscribe.